Okay, good morning, folks. It is 8:31, and I'll call this meeting to order. I'm Darren Hamilton, Chair of the Board of County Supervisors. We'll begin our agenda with acknowledge the minutes from the previous meeting. We had a meeting on June 27th, 22. So I believe that's the only one that we have in here, the minutes from. So moved. Okay, I have a motion from Drish, a second from Sandquist. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on and we'll meet with our county engineer, Dwayne Hines.
Good morning, supervisors and supervisor in absentia. We are approximately halfway through our contract rock. So hopefully by the end of July, we'll have that all buttoned up. Things are going well. We're happy with the results. So I'm excited about that. Our crack seal project for our recent bond overlay roads should begin either late this week or early next. They're working in Keokuk County currently, and they will update me as soon as they know for sure so that we can give notice to the paper and radio so people are aware when we'll have construction going on. What else we got going? I've brought the packet to you guys. It's got our final budget numbers of what we did last year. Because of the lack of construction projects, we came in about 78% of our budget, and basically that was our construction, our lack of construction projects. We're remedying that and getting into full gear. We submitted our plans to the DOT for September letting for nutmeg, stabilization and auto seal. We're working on a chip seal project for next year that should be a November letting. And then we completed the right-of-way and easement purchases for the Cedar Avenue Bridge project. So that should be an October letting as well, which allows us to utilize the swap funds in their current form. Okay. Instead of having to go back through and redesign it to federal aid standards, which is a good thing.
All right, good.
Let's see. Also in the papers I gave you, we have a bid from Fessler's for a 2022 Colorado crew cab that we would replace Billy Dro's half-ton crew cab pickup with. Then his pickup will be cycled in as an inspector vehicle, and we won't be getting rid of any vehicles, because that will allow us to keep 2 inspector vehicles in case we get in a pinch for being able to get guys out to projects. Okay. And I did a spot check on the Billion Auto website, and Fessler is about $3,000 under what I could get pulled up on the Billion Auto website. Okay. So I feel comfortable with the numbers they gave us.
Okay.
Do you have the money for this?
Yes, it's in our budget. Billy was very conservative with his budgeting, but we fall within the range of what we had on there. And then we also have a quote in there from Sun and Fun for a 2022 Polaris side-by-side to replace our 1985, what is a Yamaha Big Bear. And I'm loath to get rid of something called a Big Bear because it just sounds cool, but it barely runs. So, and that's
got the right name, Big Bear.
Yeah, it's we use that for seeding, spraying weeds, surveying. It's just kind of a general purpose vehicle, and we buy one every 30 years. So okay, it's due.
Yep.
What else do we got? The box culvert on 175th with Medic City is now open for traffic. They'll have some seed. They'll have to come back in September for some final seeding.
Mhm.
But other than that, she's ready to roll. We had to utilize some of the contingency items for base stabilization and fabric, just because the water table is so high in that area, we couldn't get the soil to compact. It was just too wet. So
Okay.
we cored out a little bit, put fabric, a macadam blanket, some more fabric, and then that gave us a platform to build our soil structure subgrade for the road out of. 146 is complete except for channel work. DeLong's supposed to be in this week to do that final grading on that, and then when they get done with that, they'll be down to 257th to get that one finished up, and then both of those projects will be completed except for final seeding.
Okay.
And see, our 2023 chip seal project that we're working on, I originally had it designed for 11 miles. After going through the DOT's contract bid award numbers, I had to knock 1.5 miles off of it. We're looking at 9.25 miles to stay within the budget,
Okay.
just because the prices have gone up.
All right.
Other than that,
I had a couple of questions from a couple of different people. They were traveling going east on 34, and they were well into Henry County, and they saw a couple of trucks coming back. They didn't appear to have anything loaded in them. I don't know why we were going down there. Were we picking up rock and bringing it
yeah,
back?
they should have had rock from the Mount Pleasant
Okay.
Quarry.
Okay, it was just down enough in the bed that
Yeah.
couldn't see it. So that's kind of what I thought as we were doing our own hauling on rock, and we have to go that direction to get some of it.
Yeah.
Not all, but some.
Yeah, there's,
So,
we've been messing with wherever they have rock that's available, and right now they have it at Mount Pleasant, whereas they didn't have any at Coppic yet, and they weren't quite ready for it down.
mhm.
But because of the geometry of truck beds, a full load doesn't actually fill the bed of the truck.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's just the nature. Whereas if there was a loader,
yeah, those
Soil
are
itself.
big trucks.
yeah,
So,
so it
Okay.
can be full. It can be full of rock weight wise and not be full volume wise.
right. Okay, all right, that answers that question for myself and a few members of the public. So, is there anything else you might have for us today?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, thank you, Dwayne. It's always good to hear a nice report from you and that things are going well.
So
So,
far, so good.
okay, we're gonna set a public hearing now for date and time for the amended ATV UTV ordinance. We have a copy of that in our packet here. And I believe this is just the amended portion of it, but I think the biggest portion, and maybe Pat, you can help me out on this, but the biggest portion is the fee that we had in this ordinance. Is that correct, Pat?
Well, I mean, that is obviously one of the issues. In the past, the law did not allow for ATVs or UTVs to be driven on any roadway, public roadway, unless authorized by the county. So in 2016, we did that. We wanted to make sure that the vehicles being operated in such a way were safely equipped. We required an inspection. We required a registration and a fee. Those fees were always due annually on July 1st. This law, which was signed into law in the middle of June, now makes more travel by the ATVs and UTVs legal by state law. And so it limits some of the county ability to determine which roadways, because it's decided by the state. It does not prevent the continuation of fees and registrations by the county, but it seems like it sort of duplicates now something that's being done by the state. And so the suggestion, after talking to the sheriff's office and the recorder's office in particular, the two offices that deal primarily with that registration issue, is that there's really not a need for it at this point. So that's been removed. There's different language in there to talk about the different types of roadways. The definition section has been limited because it's now defined in the state code. There are a few things that you can kind of take a look at. There is a section 4 talks about recommended safety protocols. I know that was important when we put the ordinance in place back in 2016, because there was concern about authorizing activity that is outside the scope of the manufacturer recommendation for those vehicles. And so we wanted to do what we could as a county to insulate ourselves from any potential liability. Now that the state is the one that's sort of authorizing use for the most part, the county still has a role. I don't know if you want to keep that section in there. If you feel like it's not useful, that's something we can talk about when we get to the first public hearing. But yeah, there have been a number of changes, and one of the things I do want the public to know, I guess, is at this point, registration to use those vehicles within the county under the existing ordinance would have renewed or required renewal on July 1. At this point, the sheriff's office is not scheduling or doing any of those inspections. I don't think intend to do any at this point. It would actually require a reorder of some supplies, the stickers, to continue to do that. And it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense now that the law's changed. So people within Jefferson County who typically use these vehicles on the county roadways will not need to be registered at this point, because the county has suspended that registration process pending what happens with this ordinance.
Okay.
That does not impact cities, by the way. Cities have different authority in terms of authorizing particular routes, and it's not a free-for-all. It doesn't make it legal everywhere. So certainly encourage operators to be safe and to be knowledgeable about what the changes do allow and do not allow. But it's kind of takes the responsibility, a lot of the responsibility from the county, and puts it on the state, which is frankly where it belongs anyway. If this is the intent to allow these vehicles to travel on roadways throughout the state.
Okay. The recorder's office still deals with licensing of ATVs.
Well, there's the DNR registration, the state registration, and that is required.
Mm-hmm.
So they will continue to do that, but they're not going to refer on then to the sheriff's office for the secondary registration. Okay.
The fees that were involved with ones that were already registered, the $35 fee that I had mentioned early on, that will no longer be taken, correct?
Right. At this point, we're not doing that.
And was that through the recorder's office?
That was, I think the sheriff's office was the one that was doing all that.
Okay. All right. Because I'd had some concerns from all three of the ladies actually in the recorder's office. So that's why I wanted to bring that up and ask about it. All right. We need to set a date for the first reading of this ordinance. It takes 3 readings to modify an ordinance. Our first available meeting would be July 11th. How does that look for you, Dee? Susie? That's a week from yesterday.
Sure.
It's fine.
Okay, and then,
Darren, is there enough time to get the 4 and 20 notice?
oh, sorry, I think that's what Abby was shaking her head about. No, there isn't.
They have changed their deadlines, so you have to get something into the paper like a week in advance.
Okay. So we'll move that to July 18th then, so that we can get the 4 and 20 notice. But once that's completed, we can do it once a week for the next 3 weeks. Unless the rest of the board wants to suspend the rules and move forward more quickly on an ordinance like this. But I suggest that we have at least 2 readings of the ordinance as a minimum. I found in the past experience that if you don't have at least that, there is some outcry that goes along with that. So we'll set the public hearing for July 18th at 9 o'clock. Does that
Sounds
work?
good.
Okay. All right. So our reading will be July 18th at 9 a.m. here in the boardroom. So, all right. We'll move on then to discuss and consider public health budget. There isn't really much to discuss at this point in time. Myself personally, I went through and did discover that there is money for a position for this year. I got 2 convoluted explanations as why from the chairman of the Board of Health as well as the public health administrator. They both told me that, yeah, there's money there. They knew that, but it isn't near enough to do what they wanted it to do. So I just wanted to put that out. It's pretty close to $40,000 as the raw salary. And then when you add in FICA and IPERS on top of that, then that puts that up to about $43,000 that's available for a new hire over at the public health office. So
And that's a new hire for the office manager.
that's right. The
And
current position that was being offered that needs a high school diploma or equivalent, and then some loose descriptions about experience, but experience isn't necessary as it was put in the job description. So it's a basic level job coming in the door. And the chairman of the board said, well, that was for doing a public health nurse hire, which seems to me a little odd that you would hire that person at a much lower salary, but require them to have some sort of degree, whether it's an AA or a BS, Bachelor of Science, to go along with it in nursing. Things aren't adding up that direction when we have these discussions.
Darren, as I remember it, she said to hire the office assistant.
Mhm.
And did we okay a range from 20 to 25 per hour that she would like? As far
I don't
as
think that's
hiring?
our decision. Our decision
That's
is the
not our
overall
decision.
budget.
Well, we seem to be talking about a lot of things, Dee, so I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, I think we're just talking about the budget. And in my opinion, we did this in March, and I don't know why we're continually going down this path. So I would suggest, we've done the research that shows we're still above like-sized counties.
I guess I would say we took the money, somebody quit on the 7th of January and was not replaced.
Right.
We then took the money and then found out the office assistant left. So I just wanted to make sure we've got the money to hire the office assistant. Because I don't know about you guys, but I would kind of like the nurses there to be doing nurse stuff if I'm sitting there and being in that chair. I don't want them answering the phone. The office assistant can do that.
Right.
Just my
but
opinion.
We've also been told, though, that there was no money in the budget to be able to do either. And that isn't the case from going through and reviewing the budget and the numbers that were presented for the amount of money that was budgeted for this.
Darren, I just want to make sure there's enough money to hire the office assistant.
Okay.
You know, I know we can sit and complain about all this stuff. We just,
No.
we need
And
to
I'm not.
we need to
complaining.
get done with this and go on. We've got other things to do.
Yes, we do. So,
So if we don't take any action, the budget exists as is, right?
yes, it does.
Okay.
So. All right, then we'll move on to make committee reports. Dee, did you have any committee meetings?
Yeah, I had RPC and ready. Couple interesting things. The computer OCIO, the office of that's working with the governor's office in the state on the broadband, contacted all the COGs. And they're going to start looking at the broadband addresses differently. And the new map should come out in a week or two so that we can go down to addresses. Currently, they've been on census blocks. And so the way the census block works is it's not that accurate. There could be like one house in a census block that has internet and the rest don't. And so the box was checked that they had broadband. So now the new way will be that we'll be able to actually get some more reliable data on the number of addresses that need it in the counties. I do know that Appanoose County, I believe it was Tuesday, approved their broadband with NATEL. So now the COGs are going to be used as a resource. So that's good to know as we look forward and see if we're going to do anything with that.
Do we know how much they approved Appanoose County?
It was either 750, I think it was 750,000 or 775. It was one of those.
Okay.
I can see if I can find out, but I know it was in that range.
Okay.
And then as far as RPC, they're, continually to making some loans as they usually do. There is an open house Thursday on, if you give me a second, I can find it. It's one of the houses that was built using the ready funds. Here we go. Thursday, July 7th from 10 to 2, open house for a home construction project with the Ottumwa School, Indian Hills, and the Legacy Foundation. So what happened was a couple of years ago, the Ready Board provided some money to the Ottumwa school system, who worked with Indian Hills to help increase the number of carpenters in our areas. So the thought of the board was to train people in construction in high school so that they can come out and have skills, because we know there's a carpenter shortage and people that can do construction like that. So this is an open house as a result of that. And it is July 7th from 10 to 2. And the address is 10 Traxler Drive in Ottumwa.
Okay.
And that's all I've got.
Okay, Susie?
I have nothing to report.
Okay, I don't have anything to report from meetings, but there were a couple of things. I did get the application for the Destination Iowa grant that you had referred me to go out to Pathfinders to sign. D, I received an email back just this morning saying that program has a huge number of people that have applied for it, way more people than the money that's allotted. So they're going to move into the second phase. After applications are taken, then they're going to review and score each one of those applications based on their merits. And once that's completed, they'll let us know whether we've made it into the top group that could be chosen from. And that doesn't guarantee if you get into that top group that you're going to get any of the money that you've asked for. But it seems that the budget that was for that grant and the number of applications for that far exceed anything that they had expected at this point. So likelihood is diminished quite a little bit, but I'm still trying to be
well, and we knew it'd be
about it.
yeah, we knew it'd be a long shot to begin with, but I think the good thing is it's really helped the Conservation Board. They're celebrating their 50th year this year because it started in 1972, and they're trying to move ahead for the next 50 years. So it's really helped them solidify their planning process and strategic planning for that. Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing because they will be out either way, whether they get this or not, moving forward either rapidly or very slowly. So
yeah. All right. And we do have 2 work sessions this week. One is Thursday morning at 9 a.m. here in this office. We're going to have a work session on ARP funding, space availability, and NATEL broadband are the items on that list. Then we also have a meeting Friday morning at 9:30 a.m. We're going to meet with our HR consultant, Jack Reed, and we're going to talk about the employee handbook and some of the issues that we've had come up just recently on it and how that's being addressed. So do we have any public comments? Let's see who we have with us. We have Connor from the radio station, Deb Book, Marianne Nordyke, Pat McAvan, Tom Drish, and Werner Elmker. Do we have any public comments from any of those individuals? Okay, hearing none.
Darren, I got a few things if I can.
Sure. Bart, you want to come up to the table?
Sure. So last week we met with our mental health SEAL region, and they have hired a position that's going to help us out in the jail.
Good.
So it's going to be up to 2 days a week. We're going to set her up in an office that we have connected to the kitchen. Mm-hmm. So she'll be there up to 2 days per week. So we have a certain questionnaire at intake that will flag some of these people, and she'll be available to provide her service to some of these. Also with that we started in mid-May is a CETA program on drug addiction. Mm-hmm. They've been real good. Up to 3 times a week they come in. We do recommendations to them. We have since had inmates requesting them.
Good.
So the program's based on targeting the drug addiction inmate and then expanding from there, whether it's employment, housing, that type of thing. So with those 2 services, I think we're doing pretty good. We would like to, whether it's a co-occurring with the drug addiction, identify some of those problems, limit the number of repeat offenses or repeat arrests.
Right.
So,
try to close that revolving door.
Correct. So we're focused on maybe getting some of them straight, productive citizens. So mm-hmm. It's not our hardcore criminal, but basically get them off the drugs and maybe some other services if they need it.
Good. Yeah,
just wanted to mention that.
That sounds great, Bart. Thanks for working that out with the SEAL region and getting that taken care of. I think that's something you guys need help with out there. It's kind of hard. There is a lot of recidivism when it comes to the items that you were talking about, because once somebody's been in, they get back out and they go right back at the same group of friends or people that they were hanging around with, which leads them back into doing what they were doing previously. So that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Aaron?
Yes, Lee, will you want to come up to the table? This is part of the public comment.
Okay. I just wanted to inform the board, and I don't know what the name of it for sure is anymore, but we know it as So Fair Farms out on Mint Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
So we addressed 3 locations out there. Got the address signs up last week. So the parcel itself is still 2385 Mint Boulevard. But there are 3 units within inside that parcel that have addresses.
Right.
So we had 2387, 89, and 83.
Okay.
I informed Stephanie that those addresses will stay with the location. So if they move those units somewhere else, the address doesn't follow the units. I just wanted you guys to know that there are
Right.
3 new addresses out there. I don't
You
know.
need to know too that they were cited with a nuisance ordinance because of the way that they hauled the trailers out there.
Now
and
this
just
is
left them.
right now. Just so for clarification, this and I appreciate that, but this is up where the mini homes are at.
Okay.
Those are where those addresses
Okay.
are at.
So that would be probably lot 1 or 3.
Yeah.
Because lot 2 was the one where the other trailers were brought in and dropped. And that person has asked for an extension within the time limit that was allowed through the initial letter. They have extended for another 30 days. They either need to get the trailers up, set up properly, and everything mowed around it, taken care of so the weeds aren't overtaking what is out there. And if they don't do that within the 30 days, they will not get another extension at the end of it because there obviously isn't any movement on that kind of thing. So I just wanted you to be aware if you were out there in that area and you were looking at addressing something that's in there. We're still holding off on that a little bit because we're still working through this nuisance property
Issue.
that we have.
And there has not been any request there. I don't know how that changes the dynamic or if it does, because she asked me that there is a single parcel and that is the 2385. But within that parcel, there's 3 units now that now have 911 addresses. And Abby, the question was asked of me and I told them they need to come and talk to you. Does that effectively require them to change their address for voting purposes, even though they still would be at 2385? I told them they needed to come in and talk to you. So I didn't know exactly how that would work.
Okay, that sounds like an affirmative that they need to come in.
And then I also told them they needed to go to the post office and set up mailboxes to address that. So, and then I don't know for Pat or for you on the ordinance, when we passed that ordinance, we had a minimum age requirement of 18 in the county. Does that stay or does that go with the state?
That's in the state law, Lee.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. We'll move now to allow claims and approve reports.
So moved.
I have a motion from Drish, a second from Hamilton. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, all those opposed, same sign, motion carries. We will sign the bills and that'll be all right. You won't be back for the remainder of the week, I believe, right?
Saturday.
Okay. All right. Well, hearing no other business or having no other business to come before the board right now.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. I have a motion to adjourn from Drish,
Second.
second from Sandquist. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning in this meeting.